Welcome to the Jazz Flyte podcast. I'm your host, Darrell Scott, and together we will dive into the lives and careers of the jazz legends who have left a rhythmic imprint on the world. Be prepared to reminisce on the highs and the lows of their musical journey and the trials that sculpted their timeless musical gems. We'll preserve the legacy of these extraordinary maestros and find inspiration in the melodies of their lives. Subscribe now and never miss a beat. Now, let's get to the show.
As within the temple courts, to receive you and to know your perfect will. We seek your perfect will, oh God of all things great, sovereign is your name.
Hi there, I'm Darrell Scott. Welcome to the Jazz Flyte podcast. I'll tell you her story in a minute. Just give me a moment, okay? Yeah, well, I'll just do it this way. That's Maria Jacobs. She's been on the show a couple of times before. The one thing I think that we like to do here on the show is just expose our viewers and listeners to everything that the artists that we interview are doing. And this will be one of those cases because Maria's got new music, she's got a book, she's got a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to try and capsulize it and get it all in so that you, the listener, the viewer, can find out where her music is so you can play it and we can make this another world smash.
Your lips to God's ears.
Maria, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fine. This is, I feel honored to do this. This is kind of the first thing of this ilk that we've done. And you know, whatever, we'll do what we can for you. So let's start with what all is going on in your life musically?
Oh my goodness. Gosh, this podcast is only about an hour. How am I supposed to answer that?
Cliff notes.
Yeah. Well, I'll start as a music educator. You know, I still am the jazz vocal professor at Kent State University and the music instructor and cantor and music leader at St. Joseph out in Mogador, St. Joseph Randolph. I'm the music instructor there. That's a 3-year-old through 8th grade student body. So I do that. And I'm really thrilled to be a music instructor with open tone music. And because we've combined with H2O, which is helping to overcome systems. And they bring children with special needs, young people with at risk or they have a special need of some kind. And so it's kind of a behavioral health company that does tremendous work in the community. And Open Tone, who I work for, brings the music content. So I teach the little ones and we service, you know, inner Akron and inner Cleveland communities. So it's a blessing to get to work with them and work with kids. You get to make such a contribution as a person and as a music instructor. We all do. Lots of musicians from within the community. So as an educator, my plate is full and I'm so thrilled that my life took this trajectory. You know, things could have been very different. And I'm very grateful that I've been enriched. I've been enriched. So that's my life as an educator. My life as a recording artist is going well because I'm in the studio right now in the thick of composing a Christian album. And I'm working with, you know, Pete Tokar is producing everything but one. Wally Minko is producing the title track to my Christian testimony, which will be on my album. And he's done a tremendous job. I've got Jack Shantz, I've got Jamie Haddad, Philip K. Jones, Reggie Bowens. I mean, I have a tremendous cast of people who are contributing to this record, which is great because it's really important to me. You know, I terminated the project that we were talking about a while back. I won't mention names or anything,
Right.
but I had to discontinue that project for some professional reasons, and that's okay because I'm glad the time trajectory was completely off, and I'm just in a very different place now as an artist. So things weren't really happening there, and it had been about 3 years, and I kind of figured 3 years kind of long enough. So right, so we turned that off, but I, in the meantime, have 20 new songs that I wrote for that project, and one of them is Blessed and Broken. So I don't regret the process. The producer was tremendous, and I have nothing unkind to say about him. But I wrote all these songs for the record, and like I said, one of them is "Blessed and Broken." So we have that coming out in November, and we have a Christmas single coming out in December, and the Christian album in early 2025.
So I guess
How-
my first question after hearing all of that,
yeah,
number one, I'm tired.
yeah, me.
Um, but how do you manage all of this, especially going from I'll call them different musical genres. I mean, at some
Yeah.
point, um, one's got to take a, I don't want to say a backseat, but it's kind of moved to the side because are you inspired to do one while you're thinking of the other one, or do you
What a
just,
tremendous question. That is a great question, and it's been heavy on my heart. I am, I, I feel like God's kind of moving me to this new place. Kent State is changing as far as curriculum goes, so my role there is not like it used to be.
hmm
So there's that. Then throughout these 3 years that I was in that other project, um, wasn't a lot going on. And I wrote a
right.
lot of Christian music in addition to the songs that I wrote for this album, particularly. So, yeah, I am a jazz singer at heart. It is my first love. It has been my obsession,
hmm
and in a good way, I think, because it's enriched my life tremendously. And I don't want to stop doing it. But at the moment, my Christian album is kind of taking the front seat. You know what I mean? Like
hmm
honestly, Darrell, I don't know that I hustled to make music and to book gigs where I could and to work with the best, and I've done those things. And my ninth album is a jazz album recorded live at the Bop Stop, and it was accepted for Grammy review in the best jazz
Wow.
vocal album category. So I mean, I feel like I've done what I can do with my resources.
hmm
Honestly, I feel like I have. I feel really comfortable with that. Not that there's not a lot more work to do, because
Right.
there always is. I mean, there
hmm
always is. If there isn't, you're doing something wrong. So
Right.
so that's tremendous. And I love it. And I don't want to put the brakes on singing jazz. So what I did was I wrote kind of a jazzy Christian album. And
Nice.
that's kind of it's some contemporary Christian vibe and it's some jazzy vibe. You know what I mean? A little gospel creeps in every now and then.
hmm
You know what I mean? I'm really thrilled with where that album is going. There's about three more songs to start from scratch to begin producing. And I mean, between this past week, which I know I told you about,
Yeah.
I don't want to jinx myself, but
Not a
GIA,
problem.
it's a very big Christian publisher. They publish Catholic, they publish Protestant music. They actually are responsible. 40% of all the Protestant music that's published is published by GIA.
Wow.
So they are Catholic and they do a lot of Catholic music in Catholic churches. They publish it. And I submitted for publication 3 songs. And then I submitted to their Composers Academy, which was kind of exclusive. They got hundreds of applicants and they only took 20 of us. And
Wow.
that conference was this past weekend. And I teamed up and got mentoring half-hour sessions with people who who are making the decisions about who gets published. And that was a blessing because we together made some tweaks and I'm going to resubmit. But when I got accepted to the Academy, I asked them, I said, I also submitted for publication. I mean, does going to the Academy help or does that mean I didn't get published or, what does that mean exactly? She goes, oh no. If you were invited to the Academy, it's because we're thinking of publishing you. Now, is that going to transpire? I don't know. I wrote a communion song, I wrote a Christmas song, and I wrote a funeral song. Maybe between now and the time I resubmit, they'll have like 150 of each. I mean, you never
Right.
know what's going to happen. But, to have them looking at you, it's like the Academy, it's like the Grammys. The fact that they looked at you and recognized you at all, that's a big win. I wasn't nominated. So it was a win that they would take the time to look and accept my record. So I kind of feel that way about GIA. And, that'll be for the next podcast. Hopefully I'll have some
Okay.
news about
So
that.
here's the thing, and I've kind of gone through something like that. Do you feel, and I'll tell you my story real quick. So I was doing some work downtown, and the Urban League called me to voice this.
Mhm.
I'll say documentary.
Yeah.
I'm don't get me wrong, feeling myself. Um, and then if it was supposed to happen on a Thursday, on Tuesday they call and go,
Mhm.
Darrell, we're going to go in a different direction. And I'm like, I get it. I'm, you know, I'm peons.
Yeah.
I said, but if you wouldn't mind, can you tell me who is taking my spot?
Oh,
So I'm sitting on the phone because, don't get me wrong, as long as there wasn't nobody local, it wouldn't bother
yeah.
me. But they
Right.
go, Avery Brooks. And I go, Avery Brooks from like Deep Space Nine? Like Hawk from Spencer for Hire? And they go, yeah. Well, you don't feel so bad
Yeah.
because that's who you finished second to.
Yeah, that's
So at
not bad.
least it's not necessarily that you're in the ballpark.
Yeah.
You're in the same little box section with this person. And I said, I think Avery Brooks is a tremendous talent.
Yeah.
And just I'm happy to be in the same group cluster of people to
Yeah.
even be considered for that. But
I get it.
I don't feel bad because it was him.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you, and I don't want to say honor, and of course you feel a little let down that you didn't necessarily make the cut,
Yeah.
but when you consider the audience that you're in, it's not bad.
You you want to surround yourself with people who are better than you.
Right,
So, you know what I mean? I mean, and I don't know if it means the person that was nominated and won was better or worse or
right,
had more traction than I did.
right,
I mean, I got to tell you, I'm peons too. I don't have the kind of traction that I'd love to have
right,
on streaming services. I'm digging around now for Blessed and Broken to try to find out how I get more traction. There's things artists can do, and I've just never been privy to any of it.
right.
I record my music, I have great productions with great people, and then I put it out into the great abyss. And I hope for the best. Now, I did that with Someone to Love at Christmas, my last Christmas single last
Hmm.
year.
Right,
I know this is not going to sound like a big number, but it was the biggest one. So it was an improvement. I had like 3,000, more than 3,000 streams of that song
right,
just in that little Christmas season. And some people are getting 50,000 and I got
right,
3,000, but
right.
I mean, you get
But
your Spotify Wrapped artists, independent artists get their Spotify Wrapped at the
right,
end of the year in December, and I'm always like, oh, I post the progress. I never
right,
post the actual numbers because that's all I'm concerned about right now. I
right,
mean, some people have resources that I'm not privy to,
right,
um, or they just like them better than they like
right.
me. I don't
Or
know.
or it's a thing of it's like this show.
Yeah,
I remember where we started,
yeah,
and don't get me wrong, I just looked at some numbers today, and I don't say I'm impressed,
yeah,
but I'm still like, it's not enough.
yeah,
How do I make it enough? What do I do to increase my numbers? What
yeah,
should I do? Who should I call? What
yeah.
what how much can how much can I Google?
Yeah,
I don't know.
we have to define what the word enough means. I mean,
Exactly.
in a lot of ways, God has given me more than enough.
Right.
That
Right.
doesn't mean that I'm famous. Of course, I'm hearing stories about famous people right now that have me really grateful I never got into that line of work,
Well,
honestly.
it's funny.
Yeah.
I just looked 67 shows we've done.
Yeah.
67 different artists. Some
Hmm.
are like my best friends now that I
Yeah.
first time I met them.
Yeah.
Um, and others are like, how fast can I get done with this? How fast can we get done with this?
Yeah.
But it's a learning experience, and
Yeah.
in both our cases we have this issue,
Yeah.
but it allows us to improve our extrovert
Yeah.
because I am an introvert, and no one will believe that. I am sure I'm going to get comments on this as I say this, but I'm an introvert.
Yeah.
But this
I,
helps me with my, you got to get out, you got to meet these people, you got to be
introversion.
cordial.
Yeah.
Right. But
I'm
that's what
kind
you
of an
have to.
introvert trapped in an extrovert spot a
Exactly.
little bit.
I remember taking, I can't think of it, as Myers-Briggs or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's a category, and if you're on the left, you're this. If you're on the
Yeah.
right, you're this.
Yeah.
You're looking at the guy who was right down the middle. I kid you not.
Is there anything wrong with that?
No, it means, as I tell people, I adjust,
Yeah.
and you can adapt to anything. And
And I think that's really important is to be able to look the business itself, whether
right,
you're within the actual corporation of the
right,
entertainment business or whether you're kind of on the outskirts doing well as an independent artist, which people can do.
right.
Um, and that's my goal. You know what I mean? I mean, record
Hmm.
labels, yeah, I mean, there could be some good scenario. A lot of your artists that you talk about interviewing, they've done really well with record labels and it could be a great situation, but you can do well on the outskirts of
But
that too.
I,
So
I want to tell you this, and I think you'll find this shocking.
yeah,
So if we've done I'll round it off, 66 people.
Hmm.
I'm willing to bet that 30 of them are independent artists.
And
They
they do
handle
well.
and they do, and one of them does absolutely tremendous. I talked to a guy just Saturday night, Randy Scott.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do it,
I
but
would
then
love, I would absolutely love to buy him lunch and pick his brain
I
about
I,
how he does it.
I know, but
I don't
it's
know what to do. I'm going to be very honest. I know how to make good music. I know how to assemble a great cast of musicians, and I know how to work with tremendous producers.
right.
I do not know how to get
Right.
myself a larger platform.
But it's and one of them actually we're doing the interview. We're in the midst of the interview, and a package gets delivered, and it's the CDs
Hmm.
for his latest, or actually these were EPs
Yeah.
of his latest release.
Yeah.
And there's a whole nother story, but he and I can't talk about that till we talk face to face. But
Yeah.
but I think that's an art. Um,
Oh, yeah.
but it takes a great. You don't have that monumental engine behind you.
Yeah.
You have to be the little engine that could.
Well, and I would rather that be the case, honestly, because some artists pay a very high price to have a big
Right.
end behind
Oh
them.
yeah. Or you get uh here your budget is 100 grand, but you're only going to get 10.
Yeah.
Why? Well, we have to pay for this. We have to pay. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, there's artist war stories out there that have
right.
me scratching my head. I mean, we don't have to talk about it for really long, but Lisa Left Eye, who lost her life tragically,
Right.
had
Yeah.
a music video, had a video on YouTube about, how you can sell 100 million records and still
Right.
be broke. She got me, they were lucky, each of them,
Right.
TLC,
Yep.
each of them made like $50,000 in their 4-year contract.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, they made no
No
money,
money. No money.
no money.
All right. This is only part one of this. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's talk about um the single that's going to be released real soon. It's called Blessed and Broken. Let's just
Mm,
listen to it and we'll get Maria's comments afterwards.
great.
This is Blessed and Broken on the Jazz Flyte podcast with Maria Jacobs.
When a tear rolled down my cheek, he said, that didn't take long. Told him I've been blessed and broken, if you can believe. I'm living in a paradox caught somewhere in between. My life ain't been easy, but I refuse to fall apart. Won't give the world the satisfaction.
That is her latest single called Blessed and Broken by Maria
Mm,
Jacobs, our guest today on the Jazz Flyte podcast. Maria, can you tell me the process of creating that song, of
mm,
what you did, the writing, the inspiration, so forth and so on?
yeah. So that was when I was in the other secular project that I was working on with a producer, and all I had was the hook. I've been blessed and broken, if you can believe. I had a couple other pieces of the chorus, but the song was just going nowhere. I mean, I was having a good time with the music. I was not having fun with the lyrics. I had this
Hmm.
concept. Okay, a lot of artists, they start with a concept in their head, and sometimes it develops into full fruition, and sometimes it falls flat and you step away from it. It's like, okay, not today. So, great story. Was it a couple years ago that Bonnie Raitt won Song of the Year for a song called Just Like That?
Hmm.
You remember that song?
Vaguely, yes.
Okay. So Bonnie Raitt lost her son, and this story in this song was about someone who died, and his heart went to someone else, and that person was able to live. And the family of the person who died met the person who got their heart.
Hmm.
And the story is about how they put their ear to his chest and felt the son's
Hmm.
heartbeat. I mean, it was beautiful, but I encourage you to listen to that song by Bonnie Raitt, because the character development, the way that she developed that story was nothing short of one of the most poetic things I've ever heard in my life. So when I heard that, my song doesn't sound like her song,
Hmm.
but when I heard the process of her character development, suddenly mine began to write itself. I mean, the song, when I got that inspiration, you don't have to write a song exactly like the one that's inspiring you
Right.
in order for that to be the catalyst to trigger you as a writer. When something strikes an artist straight in the heart, anything can come out. And that's how that song really began. Now, why the lyric blessed and broken? Because I am. I
Okay.
am. I've lived my whole life with bipolar disorder. I'm in remission. I have a beautiful life today, remission with medication. And
Hmm.
that's what my book is about. So it's glorifying God. It's telling people that He is the great healer and the great provider and merciful, and brought me through the depths of darkness, really. And I'm grateful if you look at me today and you say, "Oh, that don't make sense. Doesn't look like it." And I hope people are thinking that, because then that triggers the conversation of the glory of God in my life. But I have been blessed, and I'm probably still as broken as anybody else you might meet on the street. I don't know anybody who's not a little bit
Right,
broken, right?
right.
But to be blessed and broken, it's a gift, because what's broken leads to your blessings. And that and it's great alliteration.
What I'm going to ask you to speculate.
Yeah.
What are your hopes with this record and the entire project?
Mhm.
What are you hoping for?
For blessed and broken,
Yes.
yeah, I want that song to go all the way. It's a really, I mean, I think that that song, it's a little bit, it's mm, it's very triadic harmonically speaking, but it's not an easy harmony. I don't know that I would call it jazzy, but
Hmm.
I feel that that song and that lyric and that melody is a great starting point on who Maria Jacobs is.
Hmm.
And if they really get into that song, if they really listen to it, and if it really does well, I think that they would be inclined to listen to more, and maybe they'll be surprised at some of the jazz stuff that I've done. And, it's not a coincidence that it's being released November 8th and my Christian album is being released in early 2025. So,
Hmm. Okay.
timing wise, I really want to do everything that I can to bring as many ears as possible to that particular song. And hopefully that'll segue into a lot of ears on my Christian album, and I
Hmm.
just kind of feel like God's moving me a little bit uh, into this Christian artist thing that I love. I've been
Hmm.
writing Christian music since the start of my Christian testimony, right? I had
Hmm.
not written any Christian music before I had a really deep experience with the Lord that I love to talk about. And I think it's really important that people know that part of my story.
So I don't want to call them sides.
Mm.
There are many different parts of you that it appears that you're going to release them all right around the same time period. Which I have absolutely no problem with, and I kind of agree with all of that. You throw everything out there and you see which one sticks, and
Yeah.
maybe one will move people to the other, which will move people to the other.
Yeah.
Um, but once again, this is a lot of work, and you have a full-time, I said a full-time. You have a couple of full-time gigs.
Well, yeah, I definitely have what would amount to full time or more as far as all the gigs that I pull together. Yeah, right.
Now, as far as the folks here in the Cleveland area are concerned, will you still be doing concerts at the Bop Stop or
Oh yeah.
wherever else?
Hey, wherever they'll book me, that's where I'll play. Yeah, I love these showcase environments like the Bop Stop and Blue Jazz. Treelon Social Club has done some great things, and they're bringing in some wonderful artists. I don't know if Nighttown will come back or what's going to happen there, but that's another area that I don't want to say that I've been lazy. I've just been so focused on getting the book edited and
Right.
writing. I've been writing a bunch of music and I've been recording a bunch of music. I've been a little, excuse me, a little lack in booking these live gigs. I'm looking into some places in Columbus. I was getting booked in Pittsburgh before COVID hit, and gig never happened. So I have not been haven't been on their radar ever since. So it's really kind of a full-time job to keep in front of the people that are
Right.
booking these clubs. You know
Right.
what I mean? And you want to kind of be in an area where you have a following. I had the San Francisco Jazz Fest interested in me until they asked me, where do you play in San Francisco? Well, I don't play in San Francisco. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Oh
So
yeah, right.
they want you, look, publishers want to sell books, labels want to sell records, and club owners want to sell seats. So
Right.
you could be Ella Fitzgerald. If there's no following, you're not going to get the
You're
booking.
not gonna get anything.
So I do okay. Sometimes I have 50 to 100 people at the Bop Stop, and then there have been times when I've had 12. I mean, I,
Hmm.
I I can't tell you I'm packing houses everywhere I go. I'll just be very clear and very transparent. I wish I was packing the house every time I went out. I really, really do. But that's another full-time job. Not only
Yeah,
getting the gigs, it's also sitting behind your computer and notifying everybody that you know that you're going to be out,
right.
trying to sell the tickets in advance, make the tickets, sell the tickets. I mean, being an independent artist, oh my Lanta, it is hard, hard work. And
Uh,
you can do everything, you just can't do everything at once. And kind of right now, what you're seeing is that I really am trying to do a lot of things at once. And what's falling right now a little bit on the back burner, I'm not hustling the jazz gigs like I normally try to do.
hmm.
So right now I'm really kind of heavily focused in finishing this Christian book and also getting this Christian album underway.
Do you ever have occasion when you are performing that you kind of forget, am I doing jazz? Am I doing Christian? Am I
Hmm.
doing this? Am I doing that? Do you
Yeah.
ever have to stop in the middle of a performance and kind of, I'll say, recenter yourself to make sure you're in the right silo, so to speak?
Yeah, I try to recenter myself before I get on stage. When I go into the studio to record a Christian album, I'm not scatting all over the place like I do with the bop stop. And I'm not running all kinds of gospel riffs all over the place like I do if I'm singing in a gospel choir. A teeny tiny bit of that came out on this album, but for the most part, it's a record not just to listen to, but
Hmm.
hopefully to worship with. You know what I mean? I mean,
Hmm.
it's like leading worship. I'm on the worship team for the Life Teen Mass at St. Mary's in Hudson, and standing behind the microphone or behind the keyboard and the microphone, singing and playing at the same time. You know, it's not a performance. It's a worship lead. It's a chance. It's the gift of a chance to be able to draw people closer to Christ. Music is integral when we are worshiping. No matter
Hmm.
where you're worshiping, it's integral. And it has to be spot on. And when it is, like the Catholic Musicians Retreat that I was on last week before I went to the GIA Academy, it was the Vigil Project, and they led worship to Eucharistic adoration to music. And I mean, Catholics aren't typically hands in the air yelling Jesus
Right.
at the top of the, but they
Hmm.
were in this situation. And, when tears start to flow and hands go in the air, the music is not a performance. It is a worship lead. And it is the greatest gift in the world to be able to do that, especially if you're a performer and you understand one side of things. I don't know that every performer I know wants to lead worship, but I can tell you that having the gift of being able to do that has brought a whole new depth to everything that I do. I mean, the Holy Spirit will come through in secular music or in sacred music. If your
Right.
heart is open and you get out of the way, that's just it. You really have to empty yourself out and just seek God in those moments. So, long answer to your question is, if I'm getting ready to serve at church with music, I just say a prayer, put my head down, and I just ask God for them to hear him and not me. Right?
Yeah.
I'm a facilitator in that particular situation. That's the biggest place that I have to center myself. It is
Hmm.
very easy to get up on stage and sing jazz music. I don't have to think about it. But for a worship experience, I really have to pray before I pray before all gigs, but I really
Hmm.
have to pray before a church service or a mass. It's really important to take yourself out of the performer role and get into that worship lead.
Maria, with everything that you're doing, I can honestly say I believe. Makes me think of a song. Hmm. Let's listen to I
Good
Believe
for
by
you.
Maria
Thank you.
Jacobs on
Thank
the
you.
Jazz Flyte podcast.
I believe, yes, I believe. I fall down before you on bended knee. Every breath I breathe for you. I poured my faith in you alone. Oh, I believe.
That's I Believe from Maria Jacobs on the Jazz Flyte podcast.
And that is all tracks by Pete Tokar. He played everything. He's the most brilliant producer I've ever worked with.
Okay, enough about Pete. This is about you.
Oh,
Speaking of that, it's coming up on the holiday season. Are you doing any holiday music for us?
Yeah, I finally got around to doing a national radio promotion for a song I wrote and recorded several years ago, maybe 2018. Oh, I can't remember, but it's called Every Day is Christmas. It's already distributed on all the digital music platforms, but it's never been promoted to a national radio promotion.
Hmm.
So I'm doing that this year. So, boy, how do you classify Every Day is Christmas? It's got a Christian undertone.
Hmm.
You won't hear Jesus' name, but we're talking about him in
Hmm.
subtle fashion. So that's Every Day is Christmas, and that'll be out on smooth jazz radio stations. Can't say how many. It goes out to a whole lot of them.
Right.
You have to
Right.
pick it up. I guess it's kind of in the smooth jazz realm. I'm actually releasing it with Adam Leibowitz, with a smooth jazz promoter.
Hmm.
And so he fancied it smooth jazz enough to put it. It's very
Okay.
upbeat song.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Tell Adam I said hi.
Isn't he great?
Adam is fine, and I think you know the story. As I
Mm,
started this show, I somehow made contact with him, and he sent me a bunch of artist names,
yeah.
and one of them was yours.
Really?
Yeah, and I asked him. I remember asking him. I know she's from Cleveland, and I know her.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, well, fine. And then when I texted him back or emailed him back that we knew each other, he was very happy. And
yeah,
I think I sent him every podcast that you and I have ever done.
yeah.
So
Wow.
when generally holiday season, people take a break, some time
They
to
do?
relax.
Who are these people? Who are
That
they?
there's a time to relax and kind of enjoy the
Yeah,
fruits of the 11 and a half months before.
yeah.
You doing that?
Well, I'm traveling to Chicago in December over Christmas to be with my sister. I
Hmm.
and not to bring things down, but I lost my father recently and my
Oh.
mother just about a year and a half prior. So I kind of feel like I'm not resting these days.
Hmm.
I'm honestly, just to be very transparent, kind of throwing myself into my work.
Hmm.
The
Right.
last thing
I
I
get
want
it.
to do right now is slow down,
Hmm.
honestly. I'm
Right.
just
I
being
get
very
it.
honest with you. So yeah, I'm kind of hauling it in full gear,
Okay.
all systems go. But yeah, downtime is good. I mean, downtime is good.
You need
It's
to you need some time to relax, to refresh.
In May. I'm going on an Alaskan cruise in May. I promise you I will relax from May
I-
19th to May 26th.
If you're going on an Alaskan cruise, I have one favor.
Yes.
Get me a picture of a whale, because I've
I
heard
will,
they
yeah.
come out of the water
Okay.
and you can see them,
You can hear them.
and and obviously you're not taking bathing suits because it's Alaska and it's cold, but that's a whole nother story. All right,
Yeah. No, I will
Maria.
do my very best to get one.
Okay,
Great.
before we wrap this up, once again, the new single, uh, "Blessed and Broken,"
Hmm.
releases on November 8th, correct?
November 8th. Yeah.
And then you've got a Christmas album or single coming out that
Mhm.
people can listen for.
Yeah.
You're going to have an album coming out in early part of 2025.
Christian album in 25. Yeah. And the Christmas single is called Every Day is Christmas.
We 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 will we will follow you. We will find it. We will get it played. Because
Thank
at
you.
some point, and we'll talk about this afterwards, you have to talk to me about the streaming stuff and how people get points and all that, whatever.
Yeah. You have to talk to me about it.
Maria, thank you very much for the time.
Oh, thank
Um,
you. Thank you so
Not
much.
a problem. Anything we can do, just let me know, and we'll
Appreciate
be in touch. We'll stay in touch. We have a lot of things to talk about.
Thank
So
you.
thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. You've been listening to the Jazz Flight podcast. I'm Darrell Scott. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you for tuning in to the Jazz Flight podcast. I hope you enjoy these stories and soulful melodies that grew through the doors of time. If you want to stay connected with the latest updates and episodes, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell. Until next time, I'm Darrell Scott.